So what goes on in the male bathroom? I'm just curious because we can spend like 30 minutes in there
Talking to a stranger.
talking to a total stranger, sharing makeup, you saying, "Oh, can I borrow that lip gloss? Looks so good."
Yeah.
Sure. Distant
share
memory. A
lip
distant
gloss?
memory. Yeah, sometimes. If a sister needs help, like I'll share my lip gloss. Hello and welcome to another episode of Men Explain. It's Sonia here with you. Thank you so much for all the support and the love so far. It's been so much fun. I've been learning so much about the men's perspective. Today's guest is someone that I've never actually sat down to have a conversation like this with before. And also, he is a sight for sore eyes. Please welcome Aaron.
Hi everyone, my name's Aaron and I'm an actor. I act. I do commercials as well. I model sometimes, like for print ads and stuff. And I'm starting to write and hopefully I'll be directing one day.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
And you know what? Today's topic is interesting because we are about to address why men, or most men, maybe not you, but most, feel the need to suppress their emotions and hide their emotions. And you know, terms like, oh, grow a pair, or like, oh, man up, or you're not manly enough. These are terms that are thrown around quite a bit, right? So we want to explore how toxic masculinity impacts our society. Is this going to be a stressful one for you? Are you cool, like opening up, chatting with me?
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think it's something that is very important to me. I mean, I was raised by women, right?
Yes.
So there was always a disparity in how I felt growing up. And then I go out into the world and I have all these expectations and I'm like, okay. And even from within the family, right? The ones who have raised me to be who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you feel like generally you're the kind of person that's very in touch with your feelings?
I think I've always been very in touch with my feelings. I'm a very emotional person. Growing up, I used to always cry easily at movies. And no, I still cry easily at movies.
Same.
And apparently, it's not something that
Is socially acceptable?
yeah,
Really?
yeah. Okay, there was once in Sec 3, right? So the whole cohort went
Yeah.
to watch Bridge to Terabithia. And that movie wrecked me lah. Yeah, it wrecked me. I was crying and then I can feel everyone looking at me like,
Like, what the heck is going on with
yeah,
this guy?
but it was really sad. And turns out, only one other guy in the entire cohort cried. So two of us were like, yeah, man, I mean...
I feel you. We're
you
friends
know,
now.
yeah, but everyone else made us feel like Jesus Christ, these guys are a bunch of wusses, you know?
Oh,
like,
no.
Yeah.
So obviously in today's episode, we are also looking at how society has, brought us up as such, with certain perceptions and how maybe you as a man as well, you feel like when you were younger perhaps, you had to conform to certain ideas or like certain ways that people see men as, right? So were there some moments in your life where you feel like, okay, I cannot show my feelings aside from the movies, or I have to restrain myself or be more manly or like grow some balls, stuff like that?
Yeah, definitely. I think, especially growing up, right, when and it's not even to strangers or people that you're not very close to. Sometimes it's to your own closest friends. You want to fit in. I think back then, everyone kind of just wants to gang up on someone that's easy to gang up on to make themselves feel better because everyone's just insecure growing up, right?
Yeah.
You want to band together, and the easiest way to do that is to make someone else your target. Which is
Man, it still happens when we're adults.
yeah,
Like, you know?
It's really unhealthy and just not a good thing for anyone to do lah. Okay, recently, about 2 years ago, I learned how to drive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so-
Congrats! How many
Yeah.
tries?
First time.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
All right.
But I took auto, right? And I
Okay.
got so many people going like auto.
Okay.
Like,
Like
might
it's
as well-
lame,
yeah,
or like,
yeah.
why didn't you take manual, is it?
Exactly. It's like it's a man's thing to drive manual. I'm like, have you seen Singapore? Like,
There's not a single manual car
When's
now.
last time you saw a manual car and then you want to like start stop in traffic?
Yeah.
It's just not practical, right?
Yeah.
But there's this association with how manly it is to drive
get it.
manual. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I get what you mean. It's interesting that you raise up the issue about driving because in general, I feel like men are expected to drive well. You're expected to have a natural flair for it,
Yeah.
to be able to park like instantly.
Yo.
Do you feel that kind of pressure?
Yes. I don't know where it comes from. I really don't. It's really just like societal norms,
Yeah.
norms, right?
Yeah.
I think I'm a decent driver, but certainly not at the start. It's not something natural.
Of course, yeah. It's so funny that we're starting with this example because it is so true. Like,
Yeah.
it is one of the biggest examples in day-to-day life. So on that note, I think it's a good time to also properly define what toxic masculinity is, because all these examples are perfect examples, really. Day-to-day lives, we may not even realize it. Sometimes it just flies by the radar. We don't even realize that this is toxic behavior or toxic masculinity. Suppressing emotions or hiding distress, that could be one of them. Aggression as an indication of power. All classic examples here, and sometimes we just don't even realize it.
Yeah.
In this industry, and you've been in this industry for a couple of years now, for some time now, right? Do you feel like at any point in time you needed to conform to the idea of being a very masculine man?
I think that anywhere you go, you know, you kind of want to be chummy with the guys, right? And you know, sometimes you hear very like casual like sexist remarks being passed around, and you're just like, okay, I won't call this guy out because you don't want the energy on set.
Understand, yeah. What about like previously in school or...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Were you from boys' school?
Yes.
Oh, okay, no wonder.
Yes, and
Give me some examples, yeah.
I mean, it's you know, like there's the crying thing.
Yeah.
Everyone just wants to be secure, right? So naturally, like if you don't want to confront yourself and who you really are and your emotions and all that, the easiest way to do it is to be the most superficially masculine man. Be sporty, you know, who's gonna look at the guy who's good at maths and go like, oh, that's a real man.
Right.
Because, you know, this guy can be whatever a man even is defined by lah.
Yeah.
But the easiest way to feel like one is to at least be more different than a woman, which is in your physical appearance. Right? So I was a very scrawny kid, not really a hit of the girls. It was, and that definitely takes a toll, right? Because you've got all these people who are more athletic, more masculine, more deemed worthy or attractive or more manly. And so that naturally you just kind of feel like, maybe I should be like that. Maybe is this what I need to do to gain the attention of the opposite sex or something?
I understand. I was just sharing with the team earlier on that, because they were asking me also about my take on it, since, you know, obviously I've had a history of like ex-boyfriends and stuff like that, right? And I realized that almost all of my ex-boyfriends are very different. Like, there's not one like, oh, like all of them are muscular, all of them are fit. Like, there's all shapes and sizes, all types of men, you know, as well. And I thought to myself, like, do I look out for a masculine, fit-looking guy? Not necessarily. I mean, you're absolutely right. I think what matters more is if a guy is confident in your own skin, you're confident, you're healthy, you know what you're doing. It doesn't bother you if you're standing next to like an ultra buff guy or something. I don't know. Is that a guy thing? Like sometimes when you stand next to someone that's so buff and fit, you're like, oh, like I feel a little not so strong or something.
From what I've experienced and learned, a lot of guys who go to the gym, the ones who really look after their bodies and they want to sculpt this muscle and that muscle and watch everything they eat, they're actually one of the most insecure.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they started going to the gym because of that. But I think ultimately, if you're putting in so much effort to look this way, and then along comes another guy who you deem looks better than you, you're just like...
It takes a jab at your confidence again, right?
You know, because you want to be the best. But then you're like, oh, shit, there's this other guy. But ultimately, you can also... I mean, there are a lot of jacked guys who are very confident. But I don't think that confidence lies solely in your physical appearance. I think it lies in your own confidence that may come from working on your body.
Interesting you say that, because, you know, as much as girls always think like, oh, we are such insecure creatures, and, you know, the girls, okay, I'm sure that if you're watching right now, you might agree, we're always like, oh, like, my skin sucks, or like, oh, I need to like lose 4 more kg, or like, oh, like, today, like, oh my god, my eye bags, you know. See, you're laughing because you know it's true, right? Like,
yes, I know.
We yap about this amongst ourselves, and then we also rely on each other to uplift each other too. We're like, no, girl, you are so hot, you're the prettiest. Okay, I know I'm going on a rant right now, but this is true. This is what we do back end.
I've heard stories about like the female bathroom in clubs, right? Apparently it's like utopia and everyone gets along, but the male bathroom is not like that.
So what goes on in the male bathroom? I'm just curious, because we can spend like 30 minutes in there
talking to a stranger,
total stranger, sharing makeup, you know, like you saying, oh, can I borrow that lip gloss, looks so good. Sure. A distant memory. Memory. Pre-pandemic.
No, but even pre-pandemic.
Yeah, sometimes. If a sister needs help, like, I'll share my lip gloss.
Then you like chop off the top part. After
No, you
that.
just like maybe just put on her hand lah, then she like put on her
Oh,
lips,
okay,
kind of
that's
thing.
not too bad.
But when everyone's drunk, who knows?
It's a very good point. Yeah, the male bathroom is not like that.
It's not. It's silence, is it? Total silence? Or what?
Grunts.
Grunts. Okay.
It's okay. Number one, I don't know what the female bathroom looks like, but I think it's a lot cleaner because people don't pee on the floors and stuff.
Well,
but, yeah.
honey, you will be surprised.
Wow.
The bathroom in clubs,
Oh my.
not the best place to be.
I think in clubs for men, there's a higher chance for them to be very...
Sussing out the competition.
Yeah,
Is
they're very
it?
defensive. There's a lot of posturing. There's a lot of like, because everyone wants to feel good about themselves,
Of
right? Because
course,
they're out
yeah.
on the prowl or something.
Yeah.
We kind of want to feel better than the person next to us. So even in the bathrooms, there's a lot of like bravado, you know,
Yeah. And that can be toxic too,
Yeah.
like toxic masculinity. Back to
exactly.
that. Yeah.
And you know, when you don't feel that way, but everyone's doing that, you kind of feel like, okay, I gotta be a bit defensive here. Like, I always get paranoid. Like, what if some guy wants to pick a fight?
So on that note, has your upbringing and your surroundings and your family sort of changed the way that you view masculinity as well as you grew up?
I think so. There was never any clear and conscious, like, this is what it is to be a man or something. But maybe that's why I'm a bit more emotional, a bit more in tune with my emotions.
Yeah.
My dad is a very man's man. So what happened was I would feel like the way I feel, right? I'm very emotional. I'm very... my aunties called me a snag.
A snag?
A snag, which I was like, yes, I'm a snag. So snag is a sensitive new age guy.
Oh.
Yeah.
You and your acronyms, man. Like, okay, sensitive new age guy. Okay.
Yeah. Going out into the world, I would already feel this way. Maybe it's because of my upbringing.
Yeah.
And then I meet other guys who are, everyone's trying to posture, everyone's trying to be more manly, especially in secondary school when you need to do something to stand out, right? Because everyone's wearing uniform, same haircut kind of stuff. It was very jarring lah. So then I started looking at TV shows. I'm like, oh, look, this guy's pretty cool. Maybe I should try to be like him. To fulfill these roles and stereotypes, right, of what it is to be a man, to feel better about myself.
Yeah.
But in reality, deep down, I was always very sensitive. I never really felt very manly. You see this in pop culture, you see this out there in the world, especially when you're young and trying to find your place and find who you are. I think over time, I just got very comfortable with, you know what, I'm not happy trying to posture and trying to be something I'm not. Because that's not sustainable. It's just very... After a while, it's like, oh my gosh, you have to live wearing a mask, you know? The other day, a family member pointed out that I was wearing a lot of accessories, and I like to accessorize.
Yeah.
So I was wearing like bracelets and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think it is a generational thing.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So she was like, you're wearing so many accessories, don't you feel like a girl?
Oh.
Yeah. And
What did you say to that?
I was shocked. So I looked at her, I was like, no. Should I? It's these. So I think there is change with the generations, right? I think the younger generation is very aware of these things and very vocal about it.
Yeah.
So that's very good. We're in the right direction. The resistance, I feel, will always come from the older generations who pass on this knowledge to the new generation. So in every generation, you'll still have those people subscribing to the
course.
old norms. Great. I'm talking to a life coach now, and he's been giving me very good advice.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so you're saying that when we put labels on things, we don't want to put in the work to understand these things, So like you can always say like, oh, this guy's just a jackass. But if he did the work, or if we actually sat down with him and said, hey man, what's really going on here?
Yeah.
I guess for the most part, people don't, especially at their age, sit down and figure themselves out.
Of course.
So then they just project. These are all just projections.
Yes,
Yeah.
of your own unhappiness with yourself, maybe, or dissatisfaction or something.
Yeah.
But it does seem obviously that you've had a fair share of experiences, out there too. Has it ever affected your relationships? Like, has it ever been a topic where it was brought up in an argument, or I don't know, a topic of masculinity has ever come up before?
No. I've only ever had one ex-girlfriend, so no, I don't think.
Oh, great! Even when you guys are angry, like.
Why would that come up?
No, I don't know, because in
I'm
some...
a man!
Yeah. And I guess in some fights I hear, from my friends, I personally haven't really experienced too much of it as well, but some of my friends who share, their concerns when it comes to relationships, they're like, I need my boyfriend, for example, to be more of a man. Like, I need him to take charge. I need him to, come pick me up or take control, or I need him to support me more financially in the future. I need to know that I'm secure, stuff like that. And I know as a friend as well, who is very frustrated that her boyfriend doesn't own a car.
That's
I'm not
tough.
sure if this would spark off any sort of memories or experiences that you've had before. Do you feel pressured to be like, oh, because
Own a car?
I'm a guy, I need to own a car, I need to buy the house, I need to do all this
We
stuff.
live in Singapore,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, we're good.
Yeah. As far as owning a car goes, I've never wanted to own a car
Yeah.
because of the cost. It's just
Of
not
course.
practical.
Yeah.
I get work done on the way to work in the cab, which I can't do if I'm driving.
Yeah.
So no. Yeah.
But I think the concept of dating in this day and age has changed a lot already.
It's
right?
constantly
yeah,
changing.
It's constantly changing, exactly. So, I mean, on that note, also, I guess I will share a story. One of the first guys that I ever dated, okay, this was back then when I was still in poly, and he was slightly older than me, so he had to go to NS at that point in time. So I don't know whether this will take you back to some memories, in NS,
Ooh,
because
NS was a.
that's tough, right? Is it? I don't know.
It's
a
where
tough time
toxic
for
masculinity
relationships?
lives.
Yeah, exactly. It thrives.
Yeah.
It thrives there. And you can definitely share a few examples with me after. But I feel like during that time, I was still very young. Didn't have much experience in relationships. Heck, I didn't even know like how to date or whatever. Like I was from a girls' school like 10 years of my life. Didn't know how to dress. Didn't know how to put on makeup. Whatever haircut. I don't know anything. Okay, I went into poly like totally blank slate. Had no idea what was going on. So when the guy that I was dating back then had to go into NS, I was thinking, oh, how hard could it be? I can still see him on the weekends. It's going to be all good and all that. But what I did not realize was that he was going through a lot during this period, especially what is it called, the BMT
BMT?
time? Yeah,
Yeah.
where they have to stay in, and then you only get a very limited amount of time with them. I think he was going through a lot internally and struggling with, I guess being there, being stuck there, the activities, and just, it took a toll on his psychological health too. And he never really wanted to open up to me about it because he's always like, yeah, I got it, it's cool, it's fine. And he always want to plan, dates and stuff like that on the weekend. And I appreciated that, but I felt like I didn't ask him about his feelings enough. And he didn't also want to open up to me enough about what he was going through. And eventually it imploded because he spiraled down into a bit of depression as well, and he acted out in some ways, and then families had to get involved and certain things. I really feel bad because, I mean, if you're watching this now, like, not going to name names, but I felt bad because I think as a partner, I wasn't also having these conversations with him or having enough of these conversations. And perhaps we were younger as well.
Yeah.
We didn't know how to deal with certain things or address certain things. I felt like I could have been a better girlfriend for him to lean on emotionally.
Yeah, I think ultimately we always, because we don't know how like the ex is, right? So we can always just think to ourselves like, maybe I could have done this, maybe I could have done that. But it's just, it's coulda, woulda, shoulda lah.
Yeah, it's a rough time. How was your time there? Was there a lot of toxic masculinity? Like you mentioned, you said it breeds there, right?
Examples of toxic masculinity there, I think the more garang you are, the more
Capable or manly you come across lah.
Yeah, but some people are very capable, not physically.
Yeah, of course. That's the thing. So I feel like manliness, or what is perceived as manliness, could come in a variety of ways.
Yeah.
It's not just like muscles and, brute force or whatever. It could be intellect.
Yeah.
It could be personality.
Yeah.
It could be so many other things, right?
Yeah, and this can make people great soldiers as well. Maybe they're not the most obviously physically fit, but they have other qualities that make them a good soldier, but that isn't easily recognized at the start.
Yep.
That takes time.
Yep.
And you need to put these people in pressure situations, right? And unfortunately, we don't have enough of that before we judge someone. I saw a lot of people who are seemingly meek, very small, but those dudes can last in the field. They can just keep fighting and carrying heavy loads.
The psychological strength is there. Your mind is powerful, right?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I remember being very like, wow, okay. And because for me, I would have all these sergeants going like, how? Gola. I'm like, I can't run. I'm happy for silver. I barely I scratch silver, you know what I mean? But there's this immediate and obvious
expectation.
Yeah.
So do you feel like in general this whole perception is, changing along the way? Do you think, guys and even you opening up about, going for your life coach therapy and stuff like that. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. You have a life coach, you are open to therapy. Because a lot of men out there still see or perceive therapy and counseling as something of a weakness,
Yeah, I mean, I see all these ads advocating getting help for mental health and all that, which is really nice to see.
Yep.
I think that's good. I think that with the rise of feminism as well, it definitely helps. Just now you were talking about the female bathroom, right?
Yeah.
And how everyone's really...
We're back there, okay.
Unfortunately, men aren't very good at getting help and advice, even from other men, even from their own friends.
I agree with that.
yeah.
You continue first, yeah.
I kind of grew up living vicariously through my friends, and I would want to always get their advice and their opinions, and I always observe what they're doing and how they're doing it, and try to learn from what they're doing. But even until now, it's not very easy to sit down and go, guys,
I'm going through this.
yeah, I need some help.
Really?
Yeah, it's.
Why? Okay.
I mean, for me, I'm a bit more open,
Yeah.
but I know a lot of guys who would rather just like handle it themselves.
Yeah.
And I don't really know where that comes from or why. Maybe because they are of the belief that no matter what my friends say, it's my life and these are my experiences and my thoughts and this is who I am. So there's no point looking elsewhere. I would rather look inward, which is not a bad way of looking at it. But I think that
Sometimes you can't internalize everything. Yeah.
yeah, because sometimes your judgment is clouded by your own cognitive bias, your own experiences,
Emotions,
your own
yeah.
emotions. When you're very close
Yeah.
to the situation, you can't
Yeah.
really see it for what it is. So that's unfortunate. And I think most importantly is just having that avenue to release.
Rant. Yeah, vent.
Yeah.
It's healthy.
I've seen this thing where people, when people are venting, right, the first question you ask is, are we here to look for solutions or are we here to vent?
Wow.
So I saw that on Facebook and I was like, wow, that's a really good way of approaching things.
It's true because sometimes all you want is an outlet. So I think, we've covered quite a wide variety of examples,
Yeah.
stories, experiences, everything. Let's
Yeah.
wrap it up with this question for you. Why do you think masculinity is so important to most men? And is this something that needs to change?
I think it stems from insecurity. I think that people find it easier to fall into norms and roles that have been around for a long time. It's easier to do that and go like, oh, okay, this is what it means. It's a very textbook answer. I'm
Yeah.
going to work to become this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to
Be the
question
sole
it.
breadwinner,
Yeah.
buy the house, do this, do that. Yeah.
Like, this is what it means to be a man. I'm going to work to become this person
Yeah.
rather than look inward and become who I am and be okay with that.
And embrace it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, to me, ultimately, being a man is integrity. It's doing the right thing, even in the face of
Adversity.
adversity, right? And that's not gender specific.
I know.
Yeah.
And, I feel like the ideal, and I guess in a way, when you are looking for the ideal partner, or in my case, the ideal man and all that, right? I think to me, it's not so much of how well you take care of your physique and what. It's more, do you take care of me as a partner? Are you considerate? Are you conscientious? Are you also someone who wants to keep your mental and physical health in check? I think that's also important. Taking care of yourself,
Yeah.
and then in turn taking care of your partner. It's an ecosystem, right? Like
Yeah.
everything sort of is like a well-oiled machine if
Yeah.
one is doing good and so on and so forth.
Yeah, because you impact your partner that way, and
Yeah.
if your partner maybe doesn't or struggles with self-care,
Yeah.
then you can impart that knowledge.
Yes.
But ultimately, just falling into a norm because it's the norm without questioning it and changing yourself to suit this norm, suppressing yourself or trying to be something you're not, it's not sustainable.
It
You
isn't.
can't, that's why, so suicide rates for men are very high, right? Depression rates are very high.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that because I feel like women are a lot more free to
Expressive.
express
Yeah.
themselves, whereas men are like, no, it's not the manly thing to do. It's the man's role to just, I got this. Not sustainable at all, yeah.
No, I totally agree. So I think to wrap this up nicely, it is important for you to be in touch with your emotions, your feelings, to also realize that it's okay to ask for help. It doesn't matter if you're a guy, girl, whatever, it doesn't matter. I think it's just so important to do some introspection, reflection as well, and realize that it's okay to even go for therapy. I think that's something that is such a big conversation. Ariana Grande is doing like $2 million worth
Whoa.
of giveaways with Better Health now, if
Oh,
I'm not
nice.
wrong. So she's encouraging people to also
Yeah.
seek help, go for therapy, talk about your feelings and your problems.
Actually, on that note, right?
Yeah.
Being vulnerable to strangers, your friends, because sometimes it's the hardest to be vulnerable to your own family members,
Of course,
your closest friends,
that
right?
is the hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That takes courage. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like courage is a very masculine,
Yeah.
quality.
It's pretty sexy.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah, I totally agree. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for
Aaron. I
having
had a great conversation with you.
Yeah.
I mean, this is an interesting first meet topic. Usually we'll be like, hey, how are you? What's your favorite color? But okay, no, maybe not. That was very bad flirting, actually.
was that
I don't
flirting?
think I never asked someone for their favorite color. Have you?
No.
And on that note, I think the next episode will be how to flirt.
Yes.
Now, if you enjoyed this episode as much as we did, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.
And leave a comment down below to let us know what you think of the episode.